Mississippi House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer today by the gentleman from Hines. Remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with bowed heads and humble hearts. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving us life. Thank you for sustaining us. Thank you for our family. Thank you for our friends. And most important, thank you for peace of mind. Dear God, we know that Christ and racism does not mix, just like loving you and not caring for the least of these that walk amongst us and killing those that don't necessarily look like us. Dear God, we ask for prayer and peace in our nation. We are in some troubling times right now, Lord. And you know each and every one of our hearts, and you know each and every pain that is going throughout this nation. Dear God, heal each and every one of us. Heal our families, and most important, dear God, give us strength. Give us strength to endure. Give us strength to understand. Give us strength to make a change. Give us strength to stand up and speak to those that are unjustly served. Dear God, we once again just want to say thank you. Thank you for today. And thank you for the future that you hold for each and every one of us in this chamber and those that are able to hear my voice. In Jesus' name, let us all say, amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Lowndes, Mr. Chisholm.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll have the introductions of guests and visitors. Introductions. All right, I don't see any. Excuse me, gentleman from Tonatock, Mr. Huddleston, Dr. Huddleston.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We have today as our physician of the day a friend of mine, a physician from Pontotoc. This is Dr. John Mitchell, who is a frequent flyer in the health station here, helping us take care of our health needs. He's also the director of the Office of Mississippi Physician Workforce. Help me make John Mitchell welcome today.
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate your service to us today. All right, I don't see any further introductions. We will go to the calendar. Motion to reconsider calendar. Passes. Rules calendar. Passes. Appropriations. Passes. General calendar. Any chairman have an item on this calendar they wish to take up? Gentleman from Rankin, chairman of public property.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to go to item 2, Senate Bill 2277, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross red the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And move to adopt strike all.
You're recognized to explain the strike all.
The gentleman from Hines, Representative Crudup, will explain the strike all.
The gentleman from Hines recognized to present the strike all.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2277, we have already kind of passed this unanimously on the House side. It's the exact same language earlier dealing with the Mississippi Department of Mental Health selling property in the city of Meridian, Lauderdale, the old Friendship Center. And also it is to transfer the property that was given to the Chattahoochee Board of Supervisors to allow that property to go back to the original owners, and that's a brief explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Strike all. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
No, sir. Final passage.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2277. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Any other chairman have an item? Okay, gentleman from Harrison. Jim from Harrison. You're from Jackson, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We'll get right to you.
I'd like to call up item 4, Senate Bill 2508, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rule to be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Pike to handle the bill.
The gentleman from Pike recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2508, very simple bill. It amends sections 37-159, 1 through 17 by deleting the automatic repealers of the individual provisions of the Mississippi Critical Teacher Shortage Act of 1998, which allows the relocation reimbursement for teachers who contract for employment in areas of the state where a critical shortage of teachers exists. The bill further creates a new code section that provides for the repeal of the Mississippi Critical Teacher Shortage Act of 1998 to be July 1st, 2021. That is a brief explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Jefferson, Mr. Harness.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Mr. Porter.
Excuse me. Yes.
Okay. What exactly is teacher shortage?
What is a teacher shortage?
Yeah.
It's something that we are experiencing here in the state of Mississippi, where the school districts have a lack of teachers.
Okay. And critical need?
Critical need areas, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Gentleman from Lauderdale, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Gentlemen, would a teacher shortage be like a hair shortage?
Not quite.
Which would you say would be more drastic or severe?
Which would be more severe? In my case, is hair.
The hair? Well,
yeah.
We can help you with that. Now, with regard to these monies for the shortages that we have, are those going to be debited on your bank card?
No, sir.
How are we going to pay for them?
That's going to go through the appropriation process.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're more than welcome.
The gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Now, gentlemen, you served as a head page here for a while, didn't you?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you work here at the house before you finished school?
Yes, sir, I did.
For at least one session, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And did anybody teach you anything after that?
I would like to, yes, sir, they did.
Well, you apparently didn't learn enough while you were here to not want to come back, because you actually ran for office and came back here.
Well, I had people like you to look up to encourage me to want to come back.
Now, you need to get better advice from your teachers. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open
Move for
machine,
final
Madam
passage.
Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2508. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
I'd like to call up item 5, Senate Bill 2506, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
What this is the state had consolidated the Wyoming Municipal School District and the Montgomery School District together back a few years ago, I think in 2016. And we had a unanimous resolution from the Board of Supervisors to change the school board makeup. And then what it is just make it more fair across the board. We're going to make the school board equal to what the 5 supervisors districts are. That way it is passed the muster on being distributed equally with the same amount of people represented in each district. And also the racial makeup and all would be approved by the federal government just like it does for the Board of Supervisors. So again, we're just doing the 5 school board members, and they'll be elected from each Board of Supervisors district. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2506. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Call up Senate Bill 2283 and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
What this does is this clarifies or removes the conflict of interest for a teacher or a person that works for a school district that is not in authority, such as a superintendent or principal or what, for their spouse to be able to work on contract with the schools, such as cutting grass or some type of maintenance in the building. Again, this is not someone who would make those decisions. There's still a conflict there for them. This is someone who's not in authority to make those decisions.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2283. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Can I skip down, or you want to call
Sure.
someone? Senate Bill, item number 9, Senate Bill 2511. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
This is changing the, we passed this same bill in the House, as what it does is it changed the requirements for a student to get into the teaching program. It does not change what you have to do to become a teacher. You still have to pass the teacher exam and stuff. Is what it does. You have to achieve a minimum grade point average of 3.0 or achieve a composite score of 21 on your ACT or achieve a national recommended score on the Praxis core. Again, this is just to get into the program. It does not lower the standards to be a teacher, just to get in the program. We had 500 and some people that applied to get into the program that did not qualify, but would qualify under this. Again, it does not change. All it does is allow you into the program in a college.
Questions on the bill?
Oh, wait, where is it? I have an amendment, I'm sorry. Did you give it to me? Okay. What the amendment does, I told you that it was the same as what we sent to the Senate. It was not. In the Senate bill, in the end of the bill, I did not realize it till right before we were in committee. They had put an amendment in there or to allow someone to be hired without going through the regular license procedure for one position in the state. And we're not going to start that. It's not right. And what we're doing is we're taking that out. It was the last 2 lines in the bill. So anyway, that's what the amendment does. It just goes back to what our original bill, what we were trying to do.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
No.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2511. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas, 0 nays. The bill passes. Education yields the floor. Banking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 1, today's general calendar, Senate Bill 2427. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the 3rd time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please recognize the most capable Vice Chairman from Lee to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Lee, recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2427 is the same bill that we passed earlier this session, House Bill 1378, which is the Safe Mortgage Act. It was just a few couple of minor amendments that were made to this bill. Record retention was changed from 3 years to 5 years. That is to comply with federal regulations. Change of some wording where they removed good faith estimate to loan estimate. That is a term that's no longer used within that industry. And we also had a repealer on this law, so we are removing the repealer. And that is my explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any.
Final passage.
The machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2427. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item. Any other chairman have an item they wish to take up today? All right. I don't see any. I'm informed that the chairman of Ways and Means and the chairman of Appropriations each need to call a committee meeting. So I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call a full Appropriations Committee meeting in room 113, admitted upon recess.
All right. Jim from Tate, you wish to call a committee meeting?
Mr. Speaker, I would call a Ways and Means Committee meeting here in the chamber immediately upon recess.
All right. We need to recess subject to call. Gentleman from Prentice, can we recess subject to call? Let these committees meet.
I move this House stand in recess subject to call of the chair.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House is in recess subject to call. Let me request that if you are not on the Ways and Means Committee, which is going to meet in this chamber, that you spread out. We need to make sure the members have a place to meet.
Again, this is a little bit awkward meeting it here, but we're just, it's the hand we've been dealt. That's what we're going to do. So if you would, we're going to start at the agenda, House Bill 340. And I'm going to recognize the gentleman from Itawamba to present House Bill 340 and also 1641.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 340 simply adds Etowama Crossroads Ranch to the tax-exempt status. Etowama Crossroads Ranch is an in-house facility for brain-injured children. It's located in my district, and they also teach the kids and sell pottery that these kids make, and that's an explanation of the bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Motion title sufficient, do pass.
Excuse me, lady, you're recognized. You should. You should have that on your desk. Do you have your agenda?
I just got appropriation.
Does anybody have an agenda they can share with the lady? I don't know where Miss Alice went, but we'll find her. There you go. Coming behind you. Lady, do you have any questions? Okay. The motion is title sufficient, do pass. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to reconsider. Motion to table. Next bill, House Bill 1641. Again, recognize the gentleman from Itawamba.
House Bill, let me get to that number, 1641. On line 350 is the explanation of the bill, but this is a training facility, a workforce training facility in Water Valley, Mississippi, and it just gives them tax-exempt status. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, title sufficient, do pass. It's not listed on the bill. I honestly don't know what the name is. They do coding. It's a coding facility that teaches people in that area, and it's tied with Northwest Community College. Any further questions? If not, title sufficient, do pass.
You've heard the motion, and I would just add to what the gentleman said in speaking with council. That is not limited to just a facility in Water Valley. That is any facility that meets that definition of that, does that coding type work. Gives them sales tax exemption. Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to reconsider and a motion to table. The next bill, we're going to skip around a little bit. We'll drop down to House Bill 1746. 1746. You should have that bill as a supplement to your agenda. We'll call it up and recognize the gentleman from Rankin, Representative Powell, to handle the bill. But before I do that, I'm going to make an amendment. This bill should have had a reverse repealer in it. It does not. So the first amendment is to place a reverse repealer in this bill, and then I'll let him explain it. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, what this bill is going to do is help out our oil and gas drillers. Currently, they have to pay a 6% severance tax when they remove oil or natural gas from the ground. We're going to reduce that during this time to 1.3%. If you ask, the 1.3% is what the counties get out of this. So this should be just a minor hit to the general fund, but will help our drillers out to be able to survive during this. The economic times are showing the oil and gas industry is really hurting because nobody's using oil and gas, including the airlines and so forth and so on. So they're asking for this little bit of a help just to get them through this time. The reason we put the reverse repealer in there is I feel like there needs to be a trigger mechanism on this. So when the oil and gas gets back to pre-COVID prices, I feel like this should stop at that point and they should resume paying the severance tax. That's what I'm going to be working on with reverse repealer. Happy to answer any questions. Okay, say that again a little louder.
This tax going to just include inside the state of Mississippi or the Mississippi Sound also? I said, is this going to include just the inland lands of Mississippi or the Mississippi Sound also, offshore drilling?
Wherever the state of Mississippi collects a severance tax, it will include.
Good deal.
Seeing no questions, the
I
motion.
got a question. You mentioned that this would be a minor hit to the budget, so it's 6% and it would go down to 1.3%?
Correct. The 1.3 is what the counties gets.
The counties will get the whole 1.3%?
Correct.
The state will get nothing?
Correct. It should be a hit. What the numbers are telling me, it should be a hit of less than 15 million.
Overall, so the state will just lose 15 million?
Correct. And like I said, if we put the trigger back in and the price of oil comes back to normal, then that severance tax is going to come back, and so it could be a lot less than 15%.
That sounds good. I just need to know, so how are we defining normal? Do they define it or we define it?
We're going to define it, and my thought is go back and look at January and February oil and gas prices on the market, and when that comes back to that to the pre-virus market conditions, I feel like at that point we should stop right there because they've basically been made whole at that point.
That's not, it wasn't, if I remember correctly, that wasn't as high a price. It was about an average.
It's probably about $50 or $60, I think is what it was a barrel is what it was.
Okay.
So, I mean, we don't want to hurt the industry, but at some point,
we don't want to create any windfalls for one industry. We want to do for others.
Well, this is just to get them through.
All right.
See any other questions? No other questions. I think the motion would be title sufficient do pass committee sub. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. It's a motion to reconsider and a motion to table. The next bill I will take up myself, House Bill 1743. House Bill 1743 is a continuation of a bill that we passed, really a program that we passed a couple years ago for Hinds County and the city of Jackson. This is dealing with the Westin Hotel. If those of y'all who were here during the time, remember there was kind of a phase one and a phase two, and then now we're time for the phase two. This is not although it is involving the bond process, this is a loan program where Hinds County receives the funds. This authorizes $10 million in bonds, no more than $3.5 million per year. And so it's a total $10 million loan where the funds will go to Hinds County. Hinds County then puts the funds into the project, and this is for the purposes of building a parking garage and other commercial developments in conjunction with the Westin Hotel in downtown Jackson next to the federal courthouse. And so this would allow that to ensure what makes this program different is that the developers are actually paying back the state. So it's a loan program. Even though we are issuing bonds, it's a loan program. And as collateral, if the whole deal goes bust, then Hinds County has pledged their homestead reimbursement as collateral for the deal. So that's what makes this program unique, and that is an explanation of the bill. Gentlemen. Yeah, grab your mic if you don't mind.
Will the project, the garage be designated as a public facility, or will they have the liberty to restrict it to, like they did one other with employees?
My understanding is that there's an arrangement there with the hotel and the federal courthouse, and I don't know about anybody else, but I do know that it's for the purposes of the courthouse and the hotel to have some designated parking for their guests. And I believe there's some other commercial developments on the ground level of the parking garage that are planned. Don't know if I'd answered your question, but that may be the best I got today. Any other questions? Seeing none, motion is title sufficient, do pass. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion to reconsider, motion to table, and Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, we may be in a position where we have to break for just a minute. We're waiting on a bill. There was another bill. The next bill we're looking at taking up was House Bill 1744. There was an error in the bill, and we are waiting on printing to get us a copy of the bill up here so we can present it. I'm not going to take up a bill that's not before us, so it should be here any minute. So let's recess, subject to call. Gentlemen, you make that motion? Okay, so moved. Thank you. Meeting back to order. You should have a copy of House Bill 1748 in front of you. This bill is really just some cleanup language. What this bill does with is our income tax code sections, and when we passed the business grant program last week, we failed to include a provision in there that the grants would not be taxable under income tax. So we don't want to make these people pay income tax on these grants, and also including a provision in there that the PPP grants, the federal grants under the CARES Act, will also not be taxable. That's an explanation. Any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion? Title sufficient do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion to reconsider, a motion to table. We good? Anything else? No. Motion to rise and report. So moved.
I got it through the process. I got it. Okay. You got a copy of it? This is, I guess you gave me the written. This is written, I'm thinking. I got you. Yeah, she brought it to you. Thank you, Lisa. Keep me straight.
Please let the House come back to order. I recognize Madam Clerk to read the committee report on the Committee on Appropriation.
Report of Committee on Appropriations, House Bill 1749, Appropriation, Department of Health for COVID-19 expenses incurred by the hospitals for fiscal year 20 and 21. Tie sufficient due pass. House Bill 1750, Appropriation, Department of Finance and Administration for COVID-19 expenses incurred by municipalities and counties for fiscal year 20 and 21. Tie sufficient due pass. House Bill number 1751, Appropriation, Department of Education, IHL and community colleges for COVID-19 expenses for fiscal year 20 and 21. Time sufficient due pass. House Bill 1752, Appropriation, Department of Finance and Administration for COVID-19 expenses for fiscal year 20 and 21. Time sufficient due pass.
Chairman, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, that just about explained what these bills are. The next four bills will be placeholders or deficit bills that we have in place, and they will cover the subjects that you just heard the clerk read. And at this time, I bring up House Bill 1749. Make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
And what this bill does is a placeholder to Department of Health, and it's to defer costs incurred by public and private hospitals in the state of Mississippi. And this is to put the co-based money if we can find it. And that's what the bill does. Title sufficient, due pass.
Questions on the bill? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Well, gentlemen,
Be glad to, young lady.
Mr. Chairman, I was trying to ask you all before about these agencies and the amounts of monies that they received that didn't come through us, that went directly to the agencies. And I wanted to find out, since this is for reimbursement of hospitals, do we know how much money that these hospitals received?
Yes, ma'am. The gentleman from Pike has the documents, how much they have received. We get to you. Also, we don't know what might be coming down, and that's one reason we have this. We got this bill, ma'am.
Okay, so, but would it not be prudent for us to know what the hospitals have received so far, and what did they actually spend those dollars for, so we will know, what holes that we want to consider plugging for them?
Yes, ma'am. Now, this does have a reverse repealer. It's going to conference, so you're going to know everything in these bills before you vote on them.
Well, let me ask you this then.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody anywhere know the amount of money that we might be talking about that the hospitals would need from the state of Mississippi? Does anybody have any idea of what kind of money they're talking about? And what they're using it for?
I don't think anyone has a finite number. There's some generalities. That's one reason we have this, lady. Now, we've got some ideas where some's coming and some ideas, but to my knowledge, we don't have a finite number, and that's one reason we have these things, so we go to conference so we can get a finite number.
And then my last question, Mr. Chairman. Now, we saw the updates from the Treasury Department as to the amount of monies that we're probably going to be able to have here. And we know that I think 45% of those dollars will have to go back to the cities and the counties. Have we given any consideration to, I'm trying to think through the entire budget, and what everybody has and what they're going to need. And since we're thinking $50 or $60 million shortfall, is it any way that we could possibly have presented to us just an estimation of what we think that the agencies are going to need what they have expended, then what we have to give to the counties and the cities that we will not have control over, and then what we expect our taking away, what we think our shortfall will be, and then to know whether we will have any discretionary dollars or what we will be looking at going forward next year. Is that not good fiscal, responsible policy?
If you heard the clerk, one of the bills, the deficit bills we're doing is dealing with cities, municipalities, and counties. Another one is dealing with education. Once we get these, get this, then we can, if we load them up, get what we can do, then we can give you a finite number where everything's going.
Okay. But we don't know.
Right now, we do not know it, and that's why we've got these buckets. There's no money in these things because we don't know what's coming down, and we want to make sure we get every penny deserving to every area. Okay. And that's why we have these 4 bills.
And we want to make sure you would agree that we're not duplicating anything, and the agencies, if we find out what the agencies have gotten and what their needs are, what the hospitals have gotten and what their needs are, when do you expect to know that? Let me ask that question.
Well, I tell you what, I hope before doing conference that we find out if someone is doing that, fool me once, don't fool me twice. And I think that we can have our say-so in our day in court, and we can bring that situation to an abrupt end.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Dortch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yield.
Be glad to, sir.
It mentions hospitals. So are you going to be looking at other providers in this, or is there going to be a separate piece of legislation to deal with community health centers, pediatricians who didn't get anything from the feds, just providers outside of hospitals?
It'll all be in the same bill.
It'll all be in this one bill?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1749. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 113 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
We're getting direction from Treasury right now that says it's a threshold that we're working through what those numbers are.
Next, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'd like to go to House Bill 1750. Bring it up and make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the 3rd time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is basically the same thing. It's a placeholder or deficit bill. Directs the Department of Finance Administration and is trying to find eligible COVID-19 expense for municipalities and counties for the fiscal years of 20 and 21. And that's what it does. There's no money in it, but we're hoping to get some, and we're working through the system now to find out how much.
Questions on the bill?
Title sufficient, do pass.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1750. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 114 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to the next item. Be House Bill 1751. Bring it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the 3rd time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman recognized.
This is for this is again a placeholder for the Department of Education. It deals with K through 12, IHL, and community colleges. And like I said, we're trying to make sure that we get the money, have a place to put it as we look for it. And that's what this bill does. Title sufficient, do pass if there's no question.
Questions. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Will you yield, Mr. Chairman?
I'll be glad to.
On the Department of Education now, I'm just reading what the federal government is saying, these numbers that they're giving us. Now, it says that the Department of Education is getting $85 million for one program, and then they're supposed to get $250 million COVID, is what they're writing on the website that's going to these states, is that not, are you saying to me that those numbers are not correct? Y'all got to look somewhere else to get some more numbers.
That is additional money going to the Department of Education, but now we're looking for the Corona monies for these bills. Now I don't know.
Well, wasn't that Corona money? Ask her, isn't that Corona? Wasn't those Corona dollars?
I'm not familiar with it. The gentleman, the chairman of education, not on, but I will get him to get with you and we will get that straight.
Okay, so
I was not made aware of that. Okay, sorry.
Okay, and the only reason I was asking that question is because some people have had some interest in giving students laptops or iPads or whatever they would need for distance learning, going forward. And I think that it was represented that education needed $250 million or something like that for the program. So what I was trying to find out, since that's a COVID, wouldn't you think that would be a COVID-related expense?
Yes, on the learning, what is it? Lines, which ones aren't 15, 16, for distance learning. And like I said, we're working with them to get that through. Yeah.
Yeah, so my only concern is that if they've got dollars for that, and we identify that they have dollars for that, then does that not have to become part of our overall budget picture that we're looking at?
It will. It
Okay.
will. Okay. Listen, we're not going to leave a stone unturned.
Okay.
If it goes, we're going to put it in this stuff. Okay. So you'll know how much was spent.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentleman from Copiah, Mr. Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
I'll have to think about it. But yeah, to you,
Well,
the gentleman from the land is greener and the whatever.
Well, I'll give you a few minutes to think about it.
Be glad to.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for your patience and your leadership. I want to ask you a question when it comes to the IHL part of this bill. What factors are you considering in terms of appropriating the funds to IHL?
Well, right now we've got to get some funds, and that's what we're doing this bill. Once we get the funds, then you will find out what ratios, who to, and what, just like normal appropriations. There's a select committee working on that. So, but just like, when you get your education money, everybody gets to see who and where and how it's spent. I guarantee you there'll be transparency here. You'll find, but we've got to get the money in our buckets. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay. I guess I was specifically referring to the CARES money.
Well, that's why these bills are being set up, to make sure we get every CARES penny we can, and it's going to be CARES money, I think, will be earmarked for each department, IHL, community colleges, and K through 12. Then we'll take what we have, and then we'll go from there, trying to work through the system.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Be glad to, sir.
Following up on the gentleman from Copiah, where the grass is brown and the skies are gray.
No, you hadn't been brainwashed, David.
Quick question about you just made mention about how the funds will be determined with respect to which colleges and universities that they go to, they're allocated to. Do you already have in mind or have a list of the expenses from each college and university? COVID expense?
I have not, there is a list. I have not got it, but I will get with the chairman of IHL and he can get with you.
Okay.
Okay? If he has a list. I've not seen a list of the expenses broke down like you just requested, but there could be, and I'm sure that if he's got it, he'll be glad to share it with you.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I don't see any further
Title
questions.
sufficient, do
Open
pass.
the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1751. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. And everyone voted. Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies in the House, let's go to House Bill 1752. Again, Department of Finance Administration. And this is a deficit to add additional monies, if needed be, and if we can find it, to the small business bill. That would be Senate Bill 2772 that we passed earlier in the session. And that's all this does. If we can find some more, if they need some more, we have a place to help the small businesses of Mississippi. And that's all this does. Title sufficient, do pass, if no question.
Okay, we got to call the bill up first, gentlemen.
Okay, I
Gentleman
guess
calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You've heard the gentleman's explanation. Any questions on the bill? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, then if what NCSL is telling us on their website is true, if of the one, we're just talking about the COVID money now.
Yeah, this is strictly COVID money.
Okay.
That's what, just like we used in Bill 2772 that we voted on earlier in the year. It's COVID money.
Okay, so if what NCSL on their website is saying is true, and if the states are only going to be able to spend 55% of their COVID appropriation, I think somebody said that was $588 million or something like that, and the rest of those dollars would have to go back to the cities and the counties. You're familiar that they have put that guidance out, right?
We got 2 emails today.
Okay, so my question to you is, since the amount of dollars has been substantially reduced, that this body will have the ability to appropriate under that guidance, has there been any consideration towards what it is going to take going forward for contact tracing, additional testing, isolation, and quarantine? Because we've talked about everything, but we haven't really talked about what this is all about, which is a pandemic. So this bill says that if you have any extra money, we're going to put it in 2772. But do we have anything coming to us that's going to address contact tracing, going to address testing, going to address the need for isolation and quarantine as we go forward in this pandemic?
You asked about 10 questions there, and you're good at that because I trained you well. You came here the same time I did. But now on this, what we're trying to do, the language is being right now discussed in Washington instead of shall, it should, and so we're looking for some ways to move monies around to try to get the bang for the buck for our COVID money. Now, as far as if we have any additional revenues as we go through the appropriation process, if we have it, we can put money in some departments for testing, for screening, and those items that you mentioned. But right now, we have not put anything in any agency because we do not know if we're going to have it or not.
But if I vote for this dummy bill, this $1 bill, what I'm voting for is saying that I'm going to give priority to putting additional dollars in 2772. And if we, in the middle of a global pandemic, and we have not had one appropriations bill that addresses testing or contact tracing, which we know is critical, and then monitoring quarantined people, and then preparing places for isolation for folks to try to get this curve down, what are we doing?
Well, ma'am, you know, this whole budget right now, we're in an area we have never been before.
That's correct.
You have not been there. I've not. We got 28 years up here. We've never had anything like this. We're dealing off of air. You know, we're putting numbers out here. We're trying to capture everything that we can, but you know, we're not going to have a final number until probably June the 10th before we start putting numbers or can deal with numbers as to how much is going to different agencies and how much we can put and how much we can put. Once we get to that stage, then I think that's when we need to ask the questions of how much we can do and how much we can't do, because right now I have no idea. And like I say, these bills that we just passed, 4 of them, those are placeholders, and we hope we can find money. There might not be no money we can put in any of these, but we're getting optimistic. We think there might be some money, and that's why these 4 bills are out here before you right now. It's not to hide money, it's not to do anything, but we're trying to make sure that this body utilizes as much money as we can get from the COVID. And that's, now didn't answer your question, but that's basically, but I don't know, we're talking about right now, we don't know how much we're gonna have.
Well, gentlemen, you would agree now that Jones County is looking to be the number 5 hotspot in the United States of America. So you can understand.
I understand. Listen, young lady, I understand. You and I, like I say, have been here a long time, and you know, you've always had the people's best interest at heart. And I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying can't give you finite numbers because we don't have finite numbers. And that's you come up here and you try to lay a foundation and hoping that we build a good house, but you know, until we start getting the other materials, we don't know for sure. But this is the first level of trying to build a good house.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. So when I hope that you will agree that when I communicate with my constituents, you know, I'm going to have to say that we have not passed one bill to put any money into these things to address the actual pandemic. And then we have a bill that says if we get any additional money, which is what this one says, then we're going to look to put it into 2772. I'm asking you, Mr. Chairman, as a person I've served with for a long time, a man that's in the medical field, that the Appropriations Committee needs to sometime this week come with a bill with some money in it out of this $1.25 billion coronavirus monies that does something for the people that's sick out here, that does something for the people that are quarantined, that are isolated. We need to have something in a pandemic, health pandemic, that's addressing health issues. And that's all I wanted to say, if you would, Mr. Chairman. I think that would go a long way to restoring confidence to the people out in the community, because all they see is these numbers going higher and higher, and the only thing they hear from us is that we passed the $300 million small business package. That's the only thing we can tell them. So, thank you.
Young lady,
gentleman from Marshall, Mr. Falker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yield.
Be glad to, sir.
Mr. Chairman, so if there's any money found, it will be added to 2772. Is that correct?
No, I'm just saying if. No, we go through the process. We got the small business, y'all passed last week. And I think I heard today that the first checks went out. So for those of you who have small businesses in your community, there should be some people smiling in your communities. Thanks to y'all. But going forward on that, if that runs out of money, if there is some extra money and we can do it, we would put it in there. It's not mandating, it's if there is any additional revenue to help the businessman, we're going to try to do it. So don't get me wrong, we're going to try to help the health, and other departments, hospitals and everything else also.
So the money would go into 2772 as it currently exists, or are we talking about perhaps expanding 2772? Some businesses are not adding
It would probably go into as it exists. I don't, because when they did 2772, I think all of on the non-applied side, they took all of the businesses out by code from the Department of Revenue, and they went out. So that money was set aside. There won't be no more money going there. Then you've got the ones where you have to make application. That's the ones, there's money there, and I do not know how long it's going to last. If everybody gets service, there might be some money left over. They might not utilize it, and you might not have any need for this. However, if possible, and if there is a couple of dollars we can put in there to help some people, we're going to do it.
Right, thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions.
House sufficient do pass.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1752. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 116 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes.
Appropriation yields the floor.
All right. Brings us to the Ways and Means calendar. I recognize Madam Clerk to read the committee report on Ways and Means Committee.
Report of Committee on Ways and Means, House Bill 340, sales tax exempt sale of tangible personal property or services to Itawamba Crossroads Ranch Incorporated, tie sufficient do pass. House Bill 1746, oil and gas severance taxes, temporarily reduced rates, title sufficient committee sub do pass. House Bill 1743, bonds increase amount authorized for the Hines County Development Project Loan Fund and allow use for construction of a parking garage, tie sufficient do pass. House Bill number 1748, income tax, revised definition of gross income, tie sufficient do pass. House Bill 1641, sales tax exempt certain sales of tangible personal property and services to nonprofit organizations that provide workforce training, tie sufficient do pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Recognize the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would go to first item, House Bill 340. I believe that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask that you recognize the gentleman from Itawamba to handle the bill.
The gentleman from Itawamba recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 340 grants tax exempt status to Itawamba Crossroads Ranch. It is a charitable organization, 501c3, that handles brain injuries. It's an in-house facility for kids that have had brain injuries, and that's the explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 340. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 112 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Would I go to the next item, item 2, House Bill 1746, call it up, make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we have a committee sub.
The gentleman moves committee substitute be adopted for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The gentleman's recognized.
Would ask that you recognize the gentleman from Rankin.
The gentleman from Rankin recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, this bill is going to help out our oil and gas industry. Currently, the severance tax on oil and gas is at 6%. We're going to reduce that temporarily to 1.3% until the pandemic and the oil prices rise back up. In committee, we put in a reverse repealer because there's some things we still want to work on, is like this, the trigger for the oil price. The other thing is the 1.3% is not specified in this bill yet that it goes to the counties, but that is our intent. We've just got a little bit of work to do. So,
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the
Final
machine,
pass.
Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1746. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 111 yeas and 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Item 3, House Bill 1743. Call it up. Make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
House Bill 1743 is a continuation of the program that we've had in place for a few years in a partnership with with Hinds County. Those of you who were here a few years ago remember that the state issued bonds and allowed Hinds County to loan those bonds out, loan funds out for the building of the Westin Hotel in downtown Jackson. Phase 2 of that project is another $10 million, no more than $3.5 million a year that will be issued in state bonds. This is really a revenue bond. It's really a loan program is what it is, makes it different from a general bond. But how the system works is the state gives the money to Hinds County. Hinds County puts the money into the project, and the project developer uses the funds as part of the project and pays back the state. As collateral for the project, Hinds County pledges its homestead reimbursements, so it's very little to no risk involved for the state, and it's worked very well over the last several years, and they're ready for phase 2, which is what these funds will cover, which is the building of a nice parking garage there in front of the federal courthouse that will be used by the courthouse and by the hotel and other county employees. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1743. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 108 yeas and 8 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Item 4, House Bill 1748. I would call it up and make the usual motion.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1748 is really just a cleanup bill that would exempt from gross income, making sure the small business grants that we issued and sent out, or that we adopted in the legislation from a couple weeks ago, and that the checks started going out this week, will not be included in state income tax, and so people won't have to pay income tax on those funds. It also includes cleanup language related to the CARES Act for the business grants that went out of the CARES Act as well, that those will not be subject to state income tax. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Yeah, I want to ask you. You know, Mr. Speaker, I recognize that these people in here apparently don't care what happens in the state of Mississippi, but I would like to get my questions answered. So, gentlemen, would you yield?
Of course I would, lady.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to ask you of the $240 million that's going to these people, we're going to give them a tax elimination, right?
This bill provides that those businesses will not be taxed on the grants they received.
For the monies that they receive.
Right.
And it is not just the dollars. When I said the $240 million, it's not just the $240 million that we gave, is it not?
No, it also applies to the grants that were given out under the CARES Act.
Okay, so that could be many, many millions of dollars, could it not?
I don't know what that number is, lady, but the federal government has a record of that, I hope, but yes, that's correct.
And so if we were to look prospectively, then technically those tax dollars that we could get for those millions and millions of dollars that were given at the federal level, we are not going to pursue those, right?
No. When the Federal CARES Act was passed, the federal government exempted those grants, or really to get in the weeds, if you want to get into the weeds, they were not given out initially as grants. The PPP funds were given out as loans that could be forgivable at a later date. So it's technically, a loan is not taxed, but the cancellation of indebtedness is taxed. And so if those PPP funds are forgiven, as is allowed under the federal law, then the federal government said, we're not going to tax the cancellation of that debt, okay? And to my knowledge, most every other state has done the same thing.
Is
And
doing
so-
what you're proposing?
Yes, not tax those grant dollars. We want those businesses to use those money on keeping their employees, keeping their doors open, so a few months from now, those businesses will still be around.
And I do too, gentlemen. And my last question to you. Is there anything in Senate Bill 2772 that we have given the monies for that says that these people have to be in business August 1, September 1, October 1?
You talking
It
about
was under the dollars that we gave.
the bill that we passed 2 weeks ago?
Mhm.
Yes, they have to be a tax-paying
Do
business.
they have to be in continuous business in September, October, November of this year?
Of this year, no. The requirements were that they were a business as of, I believe, March 1 of this year and had been current on their income tax filings and all their tax filings and or intended to file a tax return this year for a business that was started, say, in January.
But they could not be in business in September or October.
We can't, the government's
we can't
not in the
predict
business of forcing somebody to be in business, but no, that's right. We are hoping that these grants will allow them to continue to be in business, to continue to provide for their families, to continue to provide jobs, and so that our economy does not take a major hit a few months from now.
I just want to say this to you, gentlemen. Did the committee give any consideration, the subcommittee, to, if this should happen, to maybe in conference putting some clawback language saying that at least if these people go out of business for whatever reason, that I'm not saying that we would tax them, but just say that they would, if they're, what do we do if they're
go out
not
of
of
business?
goodwill, and they've taken all this money and they don't?
Yeah. Well, lady, the best answer I can give you is there's some element of risk there, obviously, but from the handcuffs that the federal government put on us that the funds had to be expended by the end of the year, that's a risk we take. If they give the money back, then we're going to end up giving it back to the feds. That's not what we want. We want the money out into our economy, turning around.
I understand that. All right. The only reason I was asking that question is, again, I'm just reflecting on that we haven't, from the pandemic side, from the health side.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to, before we give away all the money, and y'all come in here, yes, and then you come in here and you say to the House that we got to cut different programs, education, IHL, and all of these things that are important to everybody that serves up here. It's just good for us to have some idea of what it is that we're doing, what kind of dollars we're talking about that's not going to be available to us for appropriation. That's all, gentlemen.
Thank you, lady.
I don't have one vote up here.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1748. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 117 yeas and 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
We'd move on to item 5, House Bill 1641. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
I would ask that the gentleman from Itawamba again be recognized.
Gentleman from Itawamba recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1641 gives tax-exempt status to any training facility that teaches coding across the state, and it stands repealed in 3 years. And that's an explanation of the bill. Other than the training students that are trained in this start out between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. That's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on the bill? Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you?
Yes.
They train them to do what?
Coding. Computer coding.
Okay. I thought you said something else. Okay.
All right, I don't see any further questions.
Final passage.
Open machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1641. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote 116 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
County Affairs will meet after adjournment today in room 401A. Rules Full Committee will meet in room 302, 5 minutes after adjournment. Ways and Means Full Committee will meet in the House Chamber 15 minutes after adjournment. On tomorrow, Judiciary A will meet at 8:30 and 1:13. Corrections will meet at 10 and 1:13. There will be a joint meeting of House and Senate Elections Committee at 11 and 2:16. Public Health will meet at 1 and 1:13. Marine Resources will meet at 1 and 1:14. On tomorrow, Local and Private will meet after adjournment in 202, and the full Agricultural Committee will meet tomorrow 5 minutes after adjournment in room 113.
Announcements by the members. All right, I don't see any. Recognize, Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Crudup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask unanimous consent to change my vote. Today's calendar, item 4 from present to yes.
Which bill number, John?
2508.
Any objection?
No, they wasn't a form.
I hear some objection there, gentlemen. All right, change the gentleman's vote. All right, I don't see any further announcements. Recognize the gentleman from Prentice for the motion.
I move this House stand adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow.